when we look back at music that was written 200-300 years ago, it's so easy to think that, hey, this is like old, it's just out of style. I mean, where's the drums? I can't dance to this type stuff. But truthfully, we have to recognize that Bach in his day was being as innovative and as creative as the people who are in rock bands today. One of the things Bach did that was innovative was recommend a different style of tuning than was popular back in his day. He didn't really invent it, but he did champion its cause. It's called equal temperament tuning. And what it means is that you tune the piano or any keyboard instrument, harpsichord, organ, to equal distances between notes. And that way you could actually play the instrument in any key. So, for example, you could play in the key of C, and then you could also play in the key of C sharp. And C sharp would be just as in tune as C was. The older way of doing it didn't allow for that. You could play in like the key of C, the key of G, maybe the key of E minor or something like that, but you couldn't jump to like C sharp and expect it to sound good because it would sound so out of tune. And so Bach had this idea. He's like, I'm going to compose Prelude and Fugue in every single key. And he did it. He actually did it twice. He has two books of what we call the Well-Tempered Clavier. It's a work for keyboard instrument. It's normally played on the piano these days. And there's a Prelude and Fugue in every single key. So I want to give you an example to listen to. It's the C minor Prelude and Fugue. Again, it's one of the more famous pieces of music that you'll hear frequently in different times. And so I want you to give that a listen. Now, the Prelude is a free-form piece. There's kind of a beginning, a middle, and an end, but there's really no other structure to it other than that it sounds good. The Fugue, however, is a really cool type of music. So what happens is he starts off with a melody, and he plays that whole melody, and then when it ends, that melody part continues on with some other material, but then the melody enters again either higher or lower. Now, in this one, you're going to hear 3 entrances, but in other fugues, you'll actually hear that entrance come in 4 or 5 times. And then after all the voices have entered, you'll hear different times where the melody comes back in a little bit, or there's a whole restatement, or there's all kinds of ways to be creative with it. It really is an art form to be able to compose. Very few composers have composed really, really good fugues. But Bach, well, he was the master, so he could do it better than anybody. So this is a good thing to have your kids do too. As you're listening to the fugue, see if they can point out every time they hear the melody come in. It starts off right at the beginning, so you can hear it once, and then see every time you hear that melody come in again. Okay, so engage your kids with this music. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about. If you have any recommendations for me on what we should be listening to, I'd love to hear them. And just keep enjoying classical music with your kids. Bye-bye.